Hi, everybody. Welcome to our first class of Fundamentals of Legal Research. Today, we're going to just do a little more on way of introduction and emphasize a little more expectations for class, talking about our blended classroom, and then kind of going through sources of law and fundamental lawyering and research. So that's our main lecture. Be also sure to do the other items in the activities and not just this lecture. Okay, so this is me. I am Margaret Marco. Just call me Margaret. Don't have to do anything fancy. A little more about me. I grew up in the great state of New York. Uh, in high school, started working, maybe it was college. I started working in a public library. I went to New York University, lived at home, and worked at the library evenings and weekends. And people would come in with a little research question, and I sat at the desk and I helped them find research answers. And really a love of mine. And I would be so thankful if you guys also fell in love like I did with legal research and became the person at your firm who is the most valuable and the most able to find answers to legal research questions and other research questions by what you've learned in this class, and hopefully if you take my computer research class as well. If you want to talk to me, I mentioned this in my other video, but remember, email me. Don't leave a voicemail, and I'll get back to you within 48 hours, usually sooner. But, if it's a weekend, I can't guarantee that I would be checking email all weekend. I am available by appointment to chat after class if we're in our lab, and or again via voicemail. For our homework, remember, it's due when it's due. It's due at 11:59 p.m., so right before midnight on the due date. Be sure to post your homework on Blackboard. If you haven't done that before, let me see if I can find Blackboard somewhere. You click on the name of the title of the assignment, and then you browse your computer to attach the files. Then you attach your file and click on submit. Let me just show you what it looks like. This is a different class, but which there probably isn't even an assignment. Let's see. Oh, sweet. Okay, so if I'm done, it'll look like that. I click on my assignment, my assignment link. Okay, and then I can write a description if I want. Otherwise, I browse my file. I pull something up, I attach it, and then I click on submit. So that's how you do your assignments, and make sure it'll give you a little, do you really mean to submit it? And all of my, if you make a mistake, just resubmit. It's not the end of the world. If you give me the wrong thing, just send it in again. Okay. I don't do makeups. All right. So get it in when it's due. I'll take assignments up to a week late, but I'm going to reduce the grade by 20%. Anything after a week, you get a 0. I don't give makeups. Don't say, oh, can I do that again? I drop the 2 lowest grades. So if you mess up, that's kind of your makeup. I have some extra credit opportunities built into it, but I'm not going to create an extra credit opportunity, assignment for you, because you just do the work that I've given you. I'll talk about a memorandum form when I give you when you watch the video on how to do the homework assignment, but all assignments are most assignments are in memorandum form. Okay, so we're in a blended format. It's the majority of this is an online class, but there are, I think it's 4 labs. So every week you're going to be responsible for completing a learning module. There will be a written assignment, there will be a quiz, and there will be a participation assignment. Um, if there is a lab for the week, do the activities before attending the lab, like read and watch whatever video lecture, because the lab is really for looking at the books together, not for me lecturing. I can do that on the video if need be. When it comes closer, I'll have you sign up for a lab time. You won't have to be there for the entire whatever that is, 5 hours. I will have to be there, but you will not have to be there. I have a maximum of people, a number of people in the room. So I think it's actually 9. So you have to attend the lab that you're scheduled for. And if we need book, that's what we'll use the blended time for. But the majority of what we're doing is going to be online. So don't forget to look through the schedule on assignments that's on the syllabus, and kind of have it out. Make sure you're not missing any deadlines, any changes to the schedules and assignments. I'll talk in the lecture, or I'll probably post it in an announcement on Blackboard. All right, so before we start talking about our class, we I'm talking about what are fundamentals of lawyering skills and legal research. The stuff that you need to know before you can even start to perform legal research. So we're going to be talking about what is the nature of legal rules? What are legal rules that we have to follow? And what are the institutions that make these legal rules? Courts and legislatures and administrative agencies and municipalities, all sorts of things like that. And then we'll start talking about the tools of legal research. So we'll start working on that today, looking at some of the books and some of the online tools that we need to perform our legal research. And then we'll talk about when we have a legal issue, how do we work out and implement a research plan? Just kind of go willy-nilly. You want to be organized in your thinking and your process so you don't waste time. Okay, so sources of law. Look at all this stuff. Holy cow. Case law. Okay, so case law are written court opinions. And when we learn and start to be able to read and understand what case law is and how to read a case, before we do our research, we have to understand the organization and structure of our court system. Okay, so we are living in a federalist system. We are bound by both state law and federal law. So we have to learn about where do we research? What is our jurisdiction and venue? And jurisdiction is one of the legal terms you'll learn about in your homework. We have to think about procedure. Is it a civil case or is it a criminal case? Because the procedural rules are different if you're in a civil case versus a criminal case. Also, courts of law. Courts of law are courts where damages can be awarded, whereas courts of equity award what we call equitable damages. Like if you want an injunction, you want somebody to stop doing something, or you want specific performance, you want somebody to do something, where you're trying to control behavior rather than just get monetary damages. We have to learn about what is common law. Okay, what does that mean? A judge makes an opinion and it's binding on future people, right? Future litigants or future people at all. And the concept of stare decisis, right? The thing is decided. It's decided once and then it's binding on future people. And when we're looking at our case law decision, what case law is binding on me? What cases that I look for does does a judge hearing my case have to abide by? Okay, the degree of authoritativeness. Okay, so that's case law. And then we have statutory law. So, statutory law, not to be confused with statues like the Statue of Liberty or the bean in Millennium Park, a statute. Um, that's the law made by our elected representatives, okay, legislatures at federal, state, and local levels. Okay, how is legislation? Does it come into being? Uh, we're really these days looking very hard at our federal lawmakers and what they've been doing in enacting legislation just these past weeks. And then the relationship between the legislative and judiciary branches. Who has the power, right? So the legislature passes a law, and then the judiciary, right? The judges, they have the right to interpret the meaning of the words in the statute if they're not plainly clear. And a court can say, you know what, lawmakers, you stepped out of line. We're going to say the statute that you have enacted is unconstitutional and cannot stand. So that's part of our system of checks and balances that's set up in our Constitution. Okay, then we have administrative laws. So we have our agencies, both federal and state agencies, like the EPA or the IRS or the Department of Labor. And again, you have state branches and federal branches of those types of agencies. And they have their own rules and regulations and decisions, which are laws put out by these administrative agencies. And same thing. So the administrative branch is part of the executive branch, our president or governor, if you're talking state. And courts, the judiciary, they have the power to interpret whether these rules are appropriate, whether the agencies have the power to make these rules, and they can strike them down or modify them if need be. Then we have court rules, kind of like our rules of evidence, our rules of civil procedure, and items that must be followed in a courtroom. Restatements, which we'll talk about, um, which is kind of a model law, um, which is not law unless adopted by a state. So those are kind of places you're going to go to perform legal research. But before you even, step foot on your computer or in a law library, you have to figure out what is your legal issue. What are you even going to be looking at? And which one of these kind of legal sources of law is it? A case law issue? Is it a statutory issue? Is it an administrative issue? What is the source of law that will give you the answer to your question? When we're talking about our tools of legal research, where is it? How do I use it? What are our legal texts like? Case law reporters, other court decisions, code books, regulatory collections, citators. Oh, those are primary texts, things like that. Secondary materials like treatises, digests, annotations to statutes, law reviews, citators, restatements, practice guides, things like that. So we want to know where to find it and how to use it. We're going to learn about reading and analyzing court decisions, and that's going to take up a big part of our first few weeks of our semester. What is a holding of the court and what is just dicta, what the court is just observing and not making a legal holding? Should holdings be interpreted narrowly or broadly? What is the extent of precedential value and stare decisis? And when there's case inconsistencies, how do we recognize that and reconcile it? And how to interpret a statute? For secondary legal materials, I want you to know how to use it, what their breadth and scope are, and to be sure to know that you don't cite these secondary legal materials as law ever. They're just meant to help you. They're not meant to be cited as law. When you are coming up with your research plan, You have to start thinking about what conceptualizing your legal issues, so you may so that you can start your research, identifying what your research strategy was going to be, where to look, how to check your work after it's been done, make sure it's current, make sure things haven't changed, make sure you are looking in all the right places. What is the person who's assigned this project to you? What expected work product do they have? Do they want you to write a memo? Do they want you to write a motion? Do they want you to write a client letter? Um, all of that kind of things. So that is what we're going to be doing throughout the semester. So don't forget um, to do the other items in our learning module, which is the Cali lesson, and the other kind of what is going to be our lab. And I will chat with you later in this module and again next week. You have a great time. You have a great week.